Welcome back. In earlier video, you understood what is XSD, why to use XSD and how to use XSD. In this video, I'll discuss about what is Jaxb, why to use Jaxb. We'll see examples on how to do marshalling and unmarshalling of XML using Jaxb, and also I will discuss about various important annotations in Jaxb. Remember, in this video, I will not be going through Jaxb in detail because that is a separate topic and it takes a lot of time. So here I will introduce Jaxb, whatever is required for the web services course, and I'll take you to the details of what all artifacts which are generated in this case. Okay, let us get started. So what is Jaxb? Jaxb is one of the OXM. What is a OXM? You might have worked with ORMs like Hibernate. Hibernate is a ORM which maps objects to relational tables. But OXM maps objects to XML documents and XML documents to objects. So Jaxb is one of the OXM. There are a lot of OXMs in the market. Few examples are Caster, Jaxb, JIBX, XML Beans, etc. There are lot more even. So Jaxb is one of the popular OXM. Jaxb stands for Java Architecture for XML Binding. So this Jaxb API, Jaxb provides an API to access and process XML documents. This API allows us to convert XML to object and object to XML back. So if you are working with Jaxb, you need not work at low level techniques like SAX and DOM. So this Jaxb is a specification from Java community and the corresponding JSR is 222. And Jaxb was actually part of Metro project when it was part of Oracle. But from JDK 1.6, Jaxb is part of JDK. There is an implementation of this Jaxb in JDK itself. So if you are using JDK, then you need not use any third-party implementations of Jaxb. I have worked with some few popular implementations of Jaxb like Eclipse Link. Eclipse Link has an implementation of Jaxb specification and it has much more features than the one in JDK. But for our discussion, we'll concentrate on Jaxb implementation provided as part of JDK. So let us see with a simple example. What I want to do is I have a class called as zoo info which contains zoo name and zoo ID. I want an object of this class to be converted into an XML like this, right? Okay, that is my requirement. Generally, if I have a class is nothing but a user defined structure. If I have to write a corresponding thing in XML world, how do you define a structure for XML? In an XSD, you define an equivalent of this class to XSD. So XSD contains what is a complex type corresponding to this class zoo info and what are the element names corresponding to zoo name and zoo ID. But Jaxb does not use XSD while it is converting objects to XML and XML to object. Jaxb uses annotations. By using annotations, we need to tell to the framework about how to map this class as a structure, how to map this class as a complex type. Okay, so let us see some few annotations now. See, first of all, whenever we have a class in XSD, what we do? We map a class to a complex type in XSD, is it? So XML type annotation is equivalent to complex type is equivalent to defining complex type in schema. So generally in complex type in schema also you give the complex type name and also sequence of elements, right? Similarly here also XML type annotation is equivalent to complex type definition in XSD. So the name is equal to complex type name and this is nothing but the sequence of the elements. Okay, zoo name and zoo ID. Okay, then I told XML type is equivalent to complex type element, but you understood from my earlier video that element tag defines a tag name. So whenever I'm converting an object of this class to XML, what is the root tag for this complex type to be used? We have to define it by using XML root element. So the root tag I want is zoo. Whenever an object of zoo info is getting converted to XML, I want to use a root tag name as zoo belonging to this namespace. Okay, that is the significance of XML root element. Or what we could do is we could use a namespace element in the XML type, so that you need not define namespace here in the root element. It will pick up from the XML type only. Okay, and inside zoo info I want to give a name to a tag called as zoo name. Corresponding to this property, I want a tag inside, right? So how I want the root tag to be zoo. And inside this, for zoo name, let's say I want to have a tag name as ZN, not zoo name. So how to define the tag names? So what I could do is I could annotate the field with XML element, and here I could use name attribute is equals to ZN. So if you want to customize the tag names for every field, you can use XML element annotation on top of it. By default, if you don't write XML element name, the field name will be taken as XML element name. Okay. So for zoo ID, I didn't annotate zoo ID with XML element. So the variable name by default will be the tag name. And what is this required equals to true? So I want to make sure that zoo name is a mandatory field in the generated XML. So required equals to true, right? Can you tell one more thing? What is this prop order? Why is it required? If you don't specify the prop order, by default, Jaxb uses reflection API to get all the fields, and the order in which you declare in the class is not declared as the order in the XML also. So if you want to have the tag names in same order, you have to define prop order. Otherwise, it is not mandatory. And next, I would like to tell you about what is the importance of this XML accessor type. By default, whenever we are using Jaxb to convert object to XML, we'll see in the next example how to convert an object to XML. If I define accessor type, XML accessor type as field, what Jaxb will do is it will use reflection API to get the values inside the fields and then convert the object to XML. It will not use getters and setters to convert an object to XML. If you specify access type as field. If you specify the access type as property, there is one more value for access type called as property. If you specify the value as property, Jaxb will use getters and setters during the marshalling and unmarshalling of XML. So, if you have some additional logic inside getters and setters while converting, then you have to specify the access type as property. Otherwise, you can use field. Okay. So these are the basic annotations. Then let us see, once you understand these annotations, let us see how to do marshalling and unmarshalling. So to do the marshalling, see first what I did in this example is I create an object of ZooInfo class. Then to convert this object to XML, we require an object called as Jaxb context. So how to get the Jaxb context? This is a way. Jaxb context dot new instance, and you have to give the class object for the annotated class ZooInfo.class. So you get a Jaxb object which knows how to convert ZooInfo to XML, ZooInfo object to XML, and XML to ZooInfo object. Then from Jaxb context, I got the master by calling create master. And this property is not mandatory. If you just want the converted XML to be shown in or printed in readable format, you have to set some property like this: Jaxb formatted output to true. Otherwise, if you don't set this property, when the object is converted to XML, the XML will be as a single line, which will be difficult to read. Just for showing you the XML clearly, I have set this property on the marshaller. Then marshaller.marshal. The first argument is the object we marshaled, and to which output stream second argument is an object of output stream. So I wrote this out, system.out. So it will be returned to console. If I want to write to a file, see what I am doing. I am creating a file object pointing to some XML and passing the file output stream. So the object will also be returned to this file. So this is a simple example on how to convert an object to XML. So let me show you the same example here in my code. So here I have the solution already. I'll show you the solution. But whenever you are working on the lab exercise, you have to work on the start project. Okay. So here I have a class called as order and order item. If you see, I have annotated order item with XML root element. The root tag should be order item, and namespace I gave it as I'll give the namespace as waytolearn.co.in. So whenever this order item object is converted to XML, the root tag will be order item belonging to this namespace. And inside order item tag, it will contain item ID, item name, and quantity. Did I specify the tag names corresponding to item ID? If I want, I could specify XML element annotation like this. XML element, and I could specify the name. Name is equals to, I'll say IID. Suppose I don't want item ID, I can say IID. And if I want this item ID to be mandatory, I could specify required equals to true. And if I want to give a default value, in some cases I can specify default value is equals to some 100. Okay, so like that I can give XML element. If I don't give this annotation, by default Jaxb uses reflection API to get all the fields, and field names will be used as tag names. Okay, so you understood about how to map order item class to the root element. And did I use XML type annotation here on top of order item? No. XML type annotation is not mandatory. Root element will be sufficient for Jaxb. It contains all such information. When to use XML type? In XML type annotation, you have some options like this: XML type, and you have something called as prop order, which is of type string array. Array means you have to give it in curly brackets like this, double quotes. Say item ID is my first element, comma, quantity, comma, item name. Suppose if you want to specify the sequence of the tag names like this, then only you can specify XML type. If sequence is not mandatory, you can just comment out XML type. It is not mandatory. So it will use reflection API to identify the field. It will get all the fields and it will convert it to XML. So the order is not guaranteed if you don't specify the prop order. Okay. If you are not worried about the order in XML, then no need to write the XML type. Okay. Then coming back to order.java, I annotated XML type, XML root element. See here in this case for root element I didn't give the namespace, but only for XML type I gave the namespace. That means for whole class this is the namespace I can define it. Here I didn't define the prop order, I could have defined the prop order. Okay. So in this case you can just see here XML element I gave the tag name should be order dash ID, not order ID. And similarly for order item, I said for this list of elements I specified order dash items. If I don't give, it will be order items. Okay. So I have defined this. Now let us see how to marshal. I have a class already written here. I created order object, a list of orders, and for the order I added list of orders. Then I got a Jaxb context for both the classes. See, if I have two classes, I have given comma separated class objects whenever I am creating Jaxb instance. There is other alternative also. We can pass something called as object factory. We'll see that next. Now, once I got Jaxb context, from Jaxb context I got the marshaller and set the property, then I have marshaled it to sysout as well as the file. So let me just run this example. I will remove this order.xml which is already present in my project. Now I will run this. You should see the order object as XML. See, you are seeing order object as XML. And also in my code, I have written to system out as well as to the file. I will refresh the project. If you see order.xml is written. So you understood how to use marshaller inside Jaxb context to convert an object to XML. Okay. Now coming to unmarshalling. How to do unmarshalling? It is similar. I created a Jaxb context for both these classes. Then from Jaxb context I got the unmarshaller. Unmarshaller.unmarshal. I am passing the file which contains XML. So I got the order object and I am printing it. Let me just check. Yes, I got it printed. AAA. Is it same? Yes, customer ID is same, right? And did you observe the tag name is order dash ID, not order ID? Because I have given a specific name. Okay. So hope you understood now how to do marshalling and unmarshalling.
Now we just open the lab documentation. Hope you have downloaded the lab documentation. So open this Jaxb lab documentation and complete step 1, step 2 and step 3 where you will understand how to do marshalling, unmarshalling and how to write annotations. Okay, and regarding step 4 and step 5, just tell about how to generate schema from classes and classes from schema. We will see those topics in next video. So before you go to next video, complete up to step 3. See you in next video.